If you suddenly became the President of the United States today, what's the very first thing you'd change or do? Resign and endorse someone more qualified. You automatically have my vote. Those who hunger for power wield it for themselves. Those not wishing to have it would wield it for others. Okay, then if I'm forced into power, here's what I'd do. The only way that we've gained power is through a general strike and workers' revolution that brought down the previous administration. And the United States has ceased to exist, and all government institutions have been overthrown, including Congress and the courts. For some reason, the worker councils have elected me. I would immediately establish a workers' congress and begin the process of transitioning from capitalism to a worker-led cooperative socialist economy. A lot of people are saying things that unfortunately seems possible because of the current president's actions and use of power aren't within the presidency. So the first thing I would do is work with Congress to create laws to rescind tons of the power that has been moved to the executive that the founders never wanted to be there. Would do that by specifically threatening tons of actions that are now legal under the executive that shouldn't be, that they specifically wouldn't like, unless they rescinded it with a joint executive order of the president giving up those powers. I had the same idea. I'd specifically go after the unitary executive theory crowd, rendition them to Guantanamo with pens and paper, write the law that would curb my power to do that, and they go free. Change campaign finance. Only people who are registered to vote may make any financial contributions to any candidate or PAC. Maximum contribution 10,000 index. Linked would lower the contribution even more. Max $1,000 per year. That is less than the current $3,600. But my primary aim is to stop corporations, especially 501c corporations and billionaires, from buying the election. I thought about this one a lot. I'd immediately start doing my job, and only my job. That is, vertical bar will faithfully execute the laws Congress passes, will not give an opinion on laws, or propose them, would only use executive orders to rescind old ones, or to direct agencies on how to interpret provisions after consulting the authors of those provisions. Finally, vertical bar would resurrect the Roosevelt fireside chats in podcast form. I'd spend time every week talking about foreign affairs, insight into agencies, and excoriating Congress for not working together and passing laws. Basically, no more free pass for the legislative branch to shrug their responsibilities. Remove for-profits healthcare in the USA. Universal healthcare. No need anymore for health insurance. No more bankruptcies because you got hurt. No more, I can't quit my job because I need the health insurance from work. Your biggest expense when you get hurt should be parking your car at the hospital. That's it. Get rid of all the fools he appointed and appoint professional, experienced people who actually have knowledge in whatever the post calls for. Fox hostess SecDef, wrestling promoter for SecOfEd, so freaking ridiculous, appointed by a clown. Very first, fire the entire cabinet and their immediate subordinates, effective immediately, while ordering someone, actually trust, to ensure all of them leave with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Personal effects, computers, cell phones can be sent later after they're swept for any confidential information. Almost every president replaces the cabinet, especially if there's a party switch. The rarity is keeping people on. Love how the person asked what people would do as president, and so many are saying they would do things that require an act of Congress to accomplish. So you'd become an authoritarian dictator on day one by imposing your will on the people without input from Congress? Interesting. Where are we currently seeing this happening? Got that too. Put better guardrails in for the power of the presidency. Bar yourself? Sounds too good to be true. For the good of the country, vertical bar would work with Congress to reduce the power of the presidency and to put more power back in the hands of Congress. This would include introducing legislation that ensured the independence of the Justice Department and established minimum requirements for Senate-confirmed cabinet positions. A lot of people are saying things that unfortunately seems possible because of the current president's actions and use of power aren't within the presidency. So the first thing I would do is work with Congress to create laws to rescind tons of the power that has been moved to the executive that the founders never wanted to be there. I would do that by specifically threatening tons of actions that are now legal under the executive that shouldn't be, that they specifically wouldn't like, unless they rescinded it along with a joint executive order of the president giving up those powers. I had the same idea. I'd specifically go after the unitary executive theory crowd, rendition them to Guantanamo with pens and paper, write the law that would curb my power to do that, and they go free. Go after insurance companies. For far too long, they have literally killed people with policy. Replace health insurance companies with universal healthcare. Healthcare is a right, not a privilege. Well, considering that the Supreme Court ruled that a corporation's only duty is to make money for shareholders, you have a hard time doing that, since the president cannot undo decisions made by the justice system themselves. It must go through the proper channels. Lobby Congress for a set of amendments. 1. Age limits that complement and set an upper age limit to match the lower age limit for elected positions. 1. Appointed positions have a mandatory retirement age to match the corresponding confirmation body. Senate-confirmed positions, for example, retire at the upper age limit of senators, i.e. Cabinet and Supreme Court. 2. ban direct trading of stocks and bonds, and make insider trading illegal for all federal office holders. Regulatory bodies may not directly hold stocks in industries they regulate. 3. All campaign funding for a politician can only come from named U.S. citizens. No foreign money, no PACs, no corporations, no other organizations may directly contribute. They can only encourage citizens to contribute. Likewise, within 3 months of an election, companies do not have a right of free speech. Only people. 4. Updated ERA 5. Guarantee of federal-funded healthcare for all Americans. 6. Requirement for all companies operating within the U.S. with more than 100 employees or contractors must include employee representatives on the board, if directors, and include employee profit sharing of at least 25% of all annual profits. Employees must be allowed to vote to appoint company officers and to remove company officers. It's amazing democracy does not extend into the workplace. 1. Designate voting day as a national holiday. 2. Ranked choice voting. 3. Corporation PAC campaign donations to public officials must be public knowledge. 4. Establish Internet Bill of Rights. 5. Establish universal health care. 6 years. College is free, including trade school. 7. Protect our national forests and wildlife refuge. 8. Corporation tax cuts. Of a corporation must request a tax cut, but only if 70% of their workforce is based in the U.S. Primarily white-collar jobs, IT, call center, app dev, etc. 9. Fund public education. 10. Immigration reform. When an immigrant shows up to our boards, they will be processed, with background checks and completing the required paperwork. If they are found guilty of a heinous crime, they will do the time in prison and will deported after their prison release. 11. Women will have their own rights over their bodies without government interference. There are a ton more I would do if I was president, but my lunch is almost over. Take advantage of the recent SCOTUS ruling to remove GOP opposition, allowing my second action to be expansion of the Supreme Court, paving the way for the third action to be the huge massive overhaul of the federal government in favor of everyday people. Tax the rich, abortion legal, trans rights, reforms on presidential power, term limits for everyone, universal healthcare, huge military spending cuts. An impossible choice. Election day. National holiday. No electronic vote tabulation, all by hand. Publicly funded campaigns only. Overturn the Corporations United ruling. End all support to Israel. Name AIPAC as a terrorist organization. Cut the military budget in half, enabling free college and healthcare.
Voting day federal holiday. Destroy the idiotic bill currently making the rounds because it sells, among other things, millions of acres of public land. Strip ICE of all of its shit. Get the best AMI team can in to see what the fuck Dojaz.
Done. And wipe it out or reverse it. Then enshrine the ARA and abortion rights into the Constitution. We have a minimum age for elected officials. Guess what? There's now a maximum age of 65. Next up are outlawing stock trading by elected officials, throwing them off their healthcare plan, and the salary for life thing. Ending Citizens United, cutting at least a third of the military budget and redirecting it towards education and infrastructure. I'm aware the president can't just wave his hand and make all that happen. Would just say the R. Catholics. Official actions, though, and tell the SC to fuck all the way off. A benevolent, all-powerful president could change our future for the better in 4 years. We'll never get one of those, though. Naps for everyone. Figure a 40-hour work week, pay at minimum wage, and that's what you get while on welfare, no matter how many kids you have. Expand equity programs that help everyone succeed at life. CEOs will not be allowed to make more than 10% of their lowest paid employees. Elon Musk has to be in the rockets when they get tested. Abortions are legal again. Executive Order number 1. Confiscate all assets of Trump and Musk pending investigation on foreign affiliations. Number 2, condemn with no half measures Russia invasion of Ukraine, demanding that Russia withdraws immediately from Ukraine borders. Number 3, I'm between just sending a couple of small nukes to Iran and destroy that viper's nest forever, or withdraw any support to Israel. Number 4, all software that is no longer supported by the original company need to remove any DRM and make, if legit necessary to operate such software, the server code publicly available and functional. The code must comply and run. Number 5, new government facility can use proprietary software, including hardware that requires proprietary software to run, which includes firmware's binary blobs or hardware drivers, unless it's a government-developed classified software solution, not commissioned to a third party. The code must be available to the public. Military equipment can be assented if they can make the Congress vote on the absolute strict necessity for such code to be classified, defined by not having any off-the-shelf commercially available component or part which should always be the first choice over developing the software in-house. Example, F-35 avionics and computer software should be classified. Communication, apparatus like switch, routers, anything that can have a commercial application cannot be classified. Top 3, in any order. Term limits and age limits for all elected positions and also Supreme Court, not elected. Ranked choice voting. Strong support for voting turnout. I don't want to make it mandatory like it is in many countries, but make it hard to make excuses why you didn't. but maybe a tax credit coupon you get for placing your ballot. I think that's legal. And then if I'm not killed off by special interests. Gerrymandering repair by basically assigning convex districts using some automated method based on census data.
First thing, eliminate all military aid for Israel that involved anything remotely resembling an offensive weapon. I would not be so quick to stop with defense-only support, but giving those maniacs killing machines would stop on day one. I'd also implement a full blockade of anything going into Israel without full US oversight and approval, and provide immediate and massive humanitarian relief in Gaza and West Bank. Start day 2, we'd start looking at full disarmament. Start day 2, we'd start looking at full disarmament. It would be slow and careful, but they need a very serious reality check. I might rethink things. I can feel my heart and my shitty things. Start day 2, we'd start looking at full disarmament. I know my view will not be popular, but yeah, things would change on day 1.
Make gerrymandering illegal, and make Election Day a federal holiday. And do those things in a way that make next to impossible to change back. Impose term limits for all elected positions. It doesn't have to be 2 terms, but absolutely no one should hold the same office for decades. Impose age limits for all elected positions. I'm open to suggestions on what the age should be, but there definitely shouldn't be any octogenarians in office. Strict spending limits on all political campaigns. Supreme Court, federal judge is no longer a lifetime appointment. I'd either make a mandatory retirement age or make it a set term. Maybe 20 years. Call for a constitutional convention. 1. Revise the First Amendment so that there is a clear call out that corporations are not people, in a way that we can never have another citizen united. Revise the Second Amendment in a way that reestablishes the importance of the militia clause and establishes a right of Congress to set sensible limits such as licensing requirements, national registration, and mental health checks. 3 changes. The Electoral College. Eliminate it if possible, but for this exercise, I'm assuming the empty states won't go along, so that states only get 1 vote per senator, so that it is weighted more heavily to population over land. 4 term limits for senators, representatives, and judges per roll of 24 years. 5. Ban presidential immunity for criminal actions. 6. Clarify the definition of insurrection so it is abundantly clear that it applies to modern cases and not just the Civil War, and that it is determined based on a trial of facts rather than political decisions in Congress. There's more that wouldn't require amendments, but this is a good start. MO. 1. Designate voting day as a national holiday. 2. Rank choice voting. 3. Corporation and PAC campaign donations to public officials must be public knowledge. 4. Establish Internet Bill of Rights. 5. Establish universal health care. 8. 6-year colleges free, including trade school. 7. Protect our national forests and wildlife refuge. 8. Corporation tax cuts. A corporation must request a tax cut, but only if 70% of their workforce is based in the US. Primarily white-collar jobs, IT, call center, app dev, etc. 9. Fund public education. 10. Immigration reform. When an immigrant shows up to our boards, they will be processed with background checks and completing the required paperwork. If they are found guilty of a hurtful crime, they will do the time in prison and will deport it after their prison release. 11. Women will have their own rights over their bodies without government interference. There are a ton more I would do if I was president, but my lunch is almost over. Retroactively rescind every single policy, order, appointment, or other decision of the 2024 administration. My second order of business would be sending the whole 2024 administration straight to a court, bottom all in prison, and nationalizing their assets to establish a reparations fund. Then expand the Supreme Court to 13. The current number of circuit courts, which was the basis for the number of seats when there were 9, appoint a special investigator to charge the felons who lied to Congress about supporting Roe v. Wade during their appointment process, and appoint worthy people to the court. Then ban corporate donations to politicians and make PACs illegal. Then mandate that all federal politicians must put all their assets into double-blind trusts upon taking office. Then establish a nonpartisan body to overhaul the planning of electoral boundaries, removing such decisions from the hands of those who have gerrymandered their way into guaranteed victory no matter how badly they fuck over the voters. The body would operate at arm's length from the federal government, answerable only to a Senate committee. What do you mean? I haven't given this much thought at all. Very good ones already. As a European, here's a couple things I would start today. Ensure all law enforcement is appropriately identified when on duty, unless when running a sanctioned undercover mission. Get legal procedures stated against everyone who has been doing differently. Restate publicly that states' rights are important. Check in with governors and ensure they decide if they want to keep federal forces there or if they wish them withdrawn. Get a procedure started today to ensure everyone in the country has a voter ID within a year. Easy process, no frills. It's crazy to us Europeans this is not already the case. Let's get trucks going around the entire country equipped to get people IDs and a database to ensure only 1 vote per person. Point no more electronic voting machines. Everyone has a paper ballot. Counting will suck, but such is life. You can't as easily mess with results as with the results database. Legal procedures started against everyone who took unconstitutional action while in office. Turn in all the documents that were promised and not delivered, or delivered with hardly anything unredacted. Any redaction left over would only cover either state secrets that compromise national security or cases that are ongoing. If that throws a few celebrities under the bus, tough luck. Stop enabling Israel. No weapons, no logistics support or financial support, and the demands are simple. Stop the genocidal bombings in Gaza and say then they are alone with Iran. Lou would not gamble with the B3 because of a war Israel started. Maybe after some heavy reformations in their external policy to, less genocidal tendencies, we could talk about closer relations. I don't deny Israel right to exist. If the state of Israel was truly under threat of an honored and genocidal aggressor, I would support them. But that's simply not the case. In fact, they are the genocidal state right now. What I deny them is the ability to put the entire Middle East and possibly the world on fire. Outlaw Congress from having any involvement in the stock market, especially in trading stock. Require full transparency in their finances for the duration of their lives, during and after their terms. No exceptions. Outlaw lobbying in any form. Both companies and individuals will never again be allowed to donate anything ever to any member of government to push their agenda. No exceptions. Change the first-past-the-post voting system to literally any other voting system. Require all corporations and individuals to pay a fair share of taxes each year, equivalent in principal percentage to those at the very bottom of the income bracket. If I pay 10%, so does everyone else. No exceptions.
Thank you for watching. Write comments, put likes. Do not forget to watching other videos.